Thank you very much. Good morning. How is everybody? I hope you've all had a very merry week celebrating Jesus' birth. And if this week has been a little bit difficult for you for any reason, I hope that you've found comfort in God and that you've been able to spend some time with loved ones as well. But now that we're at the end of this week, unfortunately, Christmas is over for a whole other year. Aww. But we're starting to look into the new year, right? It's New Year's Eve on Wednesday. We're going into 2026. So exciting. Can I see a show of hands? Who's setting New Year's resolutions this year? A bit less than half. All right, okay. I personally love a fresh start. You know, a new week, a fresh year, a month that starts on a Monday. Right? I don't know if anybody else feels like, maybe I'm just a weird one here, but a month that starts on a Monday, next level. So I'll definitely be setting New Year's resolutions personally. And I was doing some research on New Year's resolutions, and there were some interesting facts. So apparently, around 72% of adults in the UK set New Year's resolutions. Quite a lot, I feel like, more than what we've seen in this hall today. And the main topics for these resolutions are finances, family, and health. And I myself, like I said, set New Year's resolutions, but these next couple of statistics kind of made me a little bit worried about my own resolutions, because apparently of the people that set resolutions, 80% drop out by February. That's not a very long time. 6% make it to the end of the year. So I feel like as humans, we might like a fresh start, you know, new things, new habits, all these like great New Year's resolutions to start off the new year with, but we're quite bad at sticking with them. We fall back into old habits, old patterns, our comfort zone. And I wonder if that resonates with you. If you're part of the 6% that makes it to the end of the year, let us know your secrets, because we need to know, because we're clearly not getting there. But today I want to tell you about someone who does stick with new things, who does new things all the time, who's not afraid of new things. In fact, he leaves the old behind and he goes for new things every single day, every single minute of every single day. And better than any of that, he does it for us. In Isaiah 43, verses 18 to 19, God encourages us to forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Our God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He doesn't change, but he works in new ways. He does new things. And if you want to write down a title for this message, He's Doing a New Thing might be quite appropriate. The greatest danger to not experiencing everything that God has for us is familiarity. It's knowing how God has worked before and not expecting Him to do anything new, expecting Him to do the same thing over and over again. If He did it before, He can do it again, but He doesn't have to do it in the same way. And if you're here today and you don't know God yet, or maybe you don't believe what we believe, that's absolutely fine. You can belong here without believing. You don't have to believe first before you belong. You're absolutely more than welcome. And if anything, my prayer for today is that with this message, maybe you see things in a new light. Maybe it gives you a fresh idea, a fresh outlook on this new year. The first part of Isaiah 43, the verses I just read, encourages us to forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. We all want new things in our lives, whether it's a new car, a new house, a new job. We're always looking towards the next thing. But the problem, which is my first point for today, is that we so often miss the new thing that's in front of us because we're holding on to the old. We're holding on to what we know, whether it's good or bad, because we find comfort in it. We know it, you know, it's known to us. We say we want God to do a new thing in our lives, but we're holding on to the past. We say we want Him to take us out of a situation, to deliver on His promises to us, open doors for us, but we're the ones that have made ourselves comfortable where we are. So while He might be opening doors, we're not walking through it, because the place where we're at is actually quite nice. We quite like being here. We know this. If you want to see God move, you're going to have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's what new things are. You know, they're uncomfortable. We don't know them. They're unexpected. They're new. We have no idea what we're walking into. So even though we know that our God can do amazing things and bring about all these incredible things for us without a shadow of a doubt, because we've read it so many times before, we keep holding on to what we know. God is infinitely better for us, but we're standing in the way because we're so desperately clinging on to what we know and what we have. And I've got a story to go with this. So I've had a coat for many years now. It is green, it is oversized, it is comfortable. I personally love it, but unfortunately it is quite literally falling apart at the seams. My mother-in-law has begged me numerous times to please get rid of the coat, but I didn't want to. I knew it. I knew what it was. I knew how it looked on me. I knew how it fitted. I knew what it felt like. And yeah, whenever I put it on, my hands might get stuck in the lining because, like I said, it was quite literally falling apart, but I didn't want to get rid of it. Until this year. A couple weeks ago, I found a new coat. And it's warm. I like it. It's comfortable. And guess what? It doesn't fall apart. I can put my hands in it, and my hands don't get stuck. How amazing is that? Brilliant. So we can hold on to physical things. You know, me with my coat. Might be a car. Oh, I don't want to get a new car. I know how this one drives. I know how it feels. I know what gear to take the turns in. But God's got a new car waiting for you. You just need to get rid of the old one because there's not enough space on your drive for another car if you don't get rid of the old one. Stop holding on to what you've got because you won't be able to see how much better God has for you. Aside from holding on to physical things, we can also hold on to ways that we know God has worked before. We can get used to what he's done or how he's done it. So if he doesn't do it in the exact same way, surely it's not God. Surely he's not working. He's not here. Don't expect God to work in the same way he did before. He tells us himself. In Isaiah 43, a couple verses before where I started earlier, verse 16, it says, "This is what the Lord says. He who made a way through the sea, a path through the mighty waters, who drew out the chariots and horses, the army and the reinforcements together, and they lay there, never to rise again, extinguished, snuffed out like a wick." So he who's done all of that then says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." See, the people were used to God parting the Red Sea. That's what they had seen before. That's what they knew. They were stood in front of this massive ocean of water with Egyptians chasing them. And they knew that God had split the sea, made a way for them so that they could lose the Egyptians. But God's doing a new thing. He's making a way in the wilderness. And let me ask you this. What do people need to survive in the wilderness? They need water. So what was the barrier? The very thing God split before is now about to become the blessing. He's using what he moved aside to bless the people, but they're not seeing it because they're expecting him to move it aside. They're not expecting to see water to bless them. So God is telling them to forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. And I do want to say he's not asking them to forget his faithfulness, but he's asking them to forget the form that it came in so that they're ready for whatever God would do next. Because whatever is next is better. And we see this in other places in the Bible too. In Luke 5, verse 37, Jesus talks about new wine needing new wineskins. In Exodus 16, he provides manna, but new manna every single day. And they couldn't store the old provision. It would rot. It wouldn't last until the next day. We don't always get stuck in past mistakes, in our past sins or regrets or disappointments. We can just as much get stuck in past victories. You can celebrate yesterday's revival and still miss today's move. God doesn't live in nostalgia. He's always doing a new thing. So the question for today to you guys is, what are you holding on to that God might be trying to move you beyond? Think where you're comfortable, because that might be exactly where God is wanting to push you out of your comfort zone into a new thing. My second point is about the promise that we have, which is we know that God is working. He's literally told us in Isaiah 43, verse 19, "See, I am doing a new thing." He's not asking us to do anything. He's literally just asking us to see what he is doing. So we know that even when we don't see it or feel it, we always know that God is working. We might not know how he is working, but luckily when we know who, we don't need to know how. A couple weeks ago, we had to get a bathroom mirror installed in our flat, and there was some electrical work involved. So of course we called Caleb. And I have no idea how he did it. Not a clue what he was doing, but I knew who was doing it. And I trusted him completely, so I could just sit on the sofa with my cup of coffee and come back to a nice working bathroom mirror afterwards. I didn't have to worry about it. God's new thing is often unfamiliar, unexpected, uncomfortable, and unannounced. As we read a little bit later on in verse 19, it says, it springs up, suddenly. Not randomly, because God has planned it, but suddenly. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I can sometimes get quite frustrated when I read the Bible. Because I read these stories about these people constantly forgetting who God is, forgetting what he's done for them. I'm like, come on, he's literally done it 2 sentences ago. How are you forgetting this? How are you already worshiping other things and gold calves and gold idols when he's literally just done all of this for you? But it's quite easy for me to say that, isn't it? I've got the ending of the story. I've got the whole entire book. So if you know the whole thing, it's quite easy to be like, obviously. If I'm being honest, though, I'm probably a lot more like those people that I get frustrated with than I would like to admit. I keep focusing on how God has shown up before that I miss how he's showing up today. I'm so stuck on the exact way that he brought me to Scotland, for example, that I'm probably missing things that he's trying to bring me into now. Not saying that's a new country, but there's new things he's trying to bring me into. But if I keep focusing on how he did it before, I'm going to miss how he's doing it now. God is asking, do you not perceive it? Don't you see what I'm doing? And if I'm being honest, I probably haven't seen everything God's been doing in my life. And there's different reasons for people missing how God is working. I know I've been guilty of all of them. I don't know about you guys, but people can miss the new thing because they expect God to move in the same way that they've known from before. People miss the new thing because they're spiritually dull or they're distracted by other things. People miss the new thing because they're resisting change, not wanting to leave their comfort zone. God is asking us to simply open our eyes and our hearts to a new way of doing things, a new way of seeing things. See, I am doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Our God is in the business of new things. He makes us new, as it says in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old is gone, the new is here. All the way to Revelation 21, verse 5, it says, he who was seated on the throne said, I am making everything new. If we're closed off to new things, we miss so much, because that's what God is doing. He's in the business of new things. So if we don't open our eyes to see it, we're not seeing what God is doing. Luckily for us, though, our God is good. So if we just ask him to help us open our eyes and our hearts, he will do that. He will make us more sensitive to what he's doing and the new ways he is acting. So we've looked at the problem, us holding on. We've looked at the promise, God is working. Now I want to look at the process, which is my third point. Isaiah 43, verse 19, the second half of that verse, tells us that God is making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. New things often start in wilderness seasons, time when we're confused, when we're waiting on God, where we're being tested. God allows us to go through these difficult times so that we have to learn to rely on him and not just on ourselves. God does his best work in the barren places. He shows his power by bringing life and hope and transformation where it might seem impossible to us. And being in the wilderness isn't God's punishment, it's his preparation. Jesus himself spent 40 days in the wilderness after being baptized to prepare for his mission, his ministry, and our job while we are in the wilderness, because we all will be in the wilderness at some point, our job isn't to try and find a way out. Our job is simply to let God guide us through. It does involve, however, us taking a step. Because if God is guiding you through the wilderness, you kind of have to follow, right? If he's going, come on, over here this way. If you're just stood here and you're not following him, it's not going to help. You're going to stay stuck in the wilderness season. But even if we can't see a way, our God will make a way. Where in the natural world, it might not be possible to have a way, our God will make a way. But we have to step out. I remember a couple of years ago, I was living in Stirling in student accommodation. I was doing a degree at Stirling University, so I was at the dorms. And obviously, at one point, when you stop being a student, you can no longer stay in student accommodation. But by the time that moment came around, I hadn't found a flat yet. I was trying to move to Edinburgh on my own, which, if anybody's ever tried to find an affordable one-bedroom flat in Edinburgh, you might know the struggle I was facing. On top of that, I'm not from the UK, so I didn't have a guarantor, so nobody would rent to me. I ended up being technically homeless for about 3 months, living on my friends' couches, whoever was kind enough to open their homes to me. And at one point, when my parents were quite close to being like, just come back home, that's it, we're taking you out of Scotland, a friend of a friend knew somebody who was also looking for a place in Edinburgh. Now, I'd never met this person before. I knew my friend, but I didn't know the two people removed. And I, in that instance, could have been quite stubborn and be like, no, I really want to live alone. I'm really looking for my own place. I've never met this girl before. Who knows what she's like? Who knows if we're going to get along? But instead of doing that, I prayed. And I felt a really big sense of peace around it, which is, not natural because, like I just said, I'd never even met the girl before. But I felt a sense of peace, so I stepped out in faith, met up with the girl. A couple weeks later, we found the flat, which was amazing. It had a big open space, like living room, kitchen area, which, again, if you know Edinburgh flats, within our budget was unheard of. We're still good friends this year. We've both attended each other's weddings. It's worked out so well. But I could have so easily been like, no, I'm all right, thanks. I'm just going to do it my way. I'm going to keep finding a flat. If you've prayed and you feel a sense of peace about whatever strange step you might feel like God is pushing you into, take that step, because he's got such amazing things for you. So we know that our God is a God of new things. He's constantly working. And now for my fourth and final point, I kind of want to talk about our response to that. So I'm going to quickly summarize my message for you, make it nice and easy. Our response should come in 4 phases. Let go, line up, step out, and stay filled. First comes letting go of the past. Whether good or bad or just neutral, just let go of it. Stop resisting change, release old disappointments as well as victories. Stop comparing your now to your then. And have a think, where have you grown comfortable? Because that's probably the area that God is trying to do a new thing. Secondly, we need to line up, because God is always working. Behind the scenes, he's always working, he's always got a plan, but we need to open our eyes and our hearts to see it. And once we've seen it, we need to be obedient to line up with whatever God is doing. Obedience unlocks new seasons, and it takes some courage, but most of all, it takes faith. Because after you've just let go of what you know, of your comfort zone, you need to know without a shadow of a doubt that God has got the next thing waiting for you. You need to be where God is moving, not where he moved. And thirdly, we need to step out. And like I said, faith is required for the new thing, and we might not fully understand what is happening, but we need to have enough faith to not just let go of the past, but to step forward into the next thing. Because if you don't step forward, you're keeping this false sense of security behind you. You're giving yourself a chance to just turn back and go back to what you know if things get difficult. You don't want that. You don't need that. God is in front of you. God is working something out in front of you. You're only working against his plan if you're trying to turn back to what you know. And finally, we need to stay filled. We need to stay close to God and make him our comfort zone rather than anything that we're in. We need to constantly be running to him, speaking to him to be able to follow him. Because stepping out into something new means that you've not been there before. So how are you going to know where to go if you haven't been in a place? You need somebody to guide you through. And that someone to guide us through is God. So as long as we stay close to God, we can let go of things easily because we know that he'll have the next thing ready for us. We know that he can guide us to the next thing. We won't be lost. God isn't done yet. He's not done with his church. He's not done with this city. He's not done with you. As long as you're alive and breathing, he's still working in your life and he's still got a plan for you. He wants to take you into new things. So are you going to hold on to the past? Are you going to let go of it, step out into what's next? At this point, I would like to open it up for anybody who would like some prayer. If any of this has resonated with you, or if you want a fresh fire, a renewed vision, a release from anything in the past, an openness to a new thing that God is doing, If you would like to come to the front, a couple of us will be ready here to pray with you. If you'd like anything, you don't have to tell us any specifics. You don't have to share anything. God knows. We don't need to know. But yeah, if there's anything, if you feel a burden on your heart about any of these things, please step forward as the band comes on the stage and plays us a nice little song in the background. I'll leave it open for a little bit if anybody would like to come forward and respond to the message.